What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. Nice, solid win today. Loved the performance. Loved a lot of it. But first, we're going to talk about the one thing I didn't love today, typically, and that is, of course, the referee, Simon Hooper. And Simon Hooper's not one of the referees that I typically remember. Like, he's a name that I know I've heard before, but he's not really one that I either have, like, a good opinion of or a bad opinion of. But today, my opinion of him definitely dropped. Now, granted, none of his decisions were big game-changing decisions, and overall, on the base of it, he did keep it somewhat consistent. My problems came down to the yellow cards. So let's look at the yellow card incidents. First of all, Espilicuetas wasn't a yellow card. Challenge in the first half, he wins the ball fairly. He gets the ball first, and then he does get a little bit of a man, but not much. He gets way more of the ball than he does of the man. But of course, the guy feels the contact, goes down. Referee, well back behind the play, doesn't get a clear view of it, but decides, you know what, I'm calling that, and because he was about to have a shot, here's a yellow. So already he's missed it. It's not a foul. Espilicueta won the ball, but whatever. Gives him a yellow card for it. He's smart enough to know how to not get a second yellow. Then we get into the second half, and obviously Wolves are a little bit more frustrated, especially after we scored the second one. You could tell their frustration was starting to mount. So then we have, ironically enough, I didn't do this for wordplay, but we have Mount and Jorginho both running basically in a bit of a race with Podence to go get the ball. Mount goes and essentially has the ball in his possession, but he's letting it go out for a throw. Jorginho is making sure Podence can't really get a foot in. Now, granted, is it obstruction on Jorginho? Probably, but obstruction is a dead rule because it's never called anymore. So he is holding him off a bit while Podence, in his frustration, little shove in the back of Jorginho, shoves him to the ground. I'm thinking, okay, so referee, go over, talk to him, yellow, calm down. Just a little talking to, and then go on your way. Hey, don't do it again. Get out of here. No punishment for you. Since when is shoving somebody in the back out of frustration not a yellow? That basically says, hey, you can do that again. I'm not going to card you for it. Like, what is that? And then, a little bit later, you got Jorginho hacking down Nunez, keeping him from going on a breakaway. That's a yellow. He shouldn't be hacking him down. Clearly, the man's making a run through. That's a yellow card. Nunez's kick out on Jorginho. Nothing for him. Not only that, he then stands up. Espilicueta comes up to defend him as a captain should, and Nunez gives him a nice little two-hand shove to the chest. And it wasn't just like a little, hey, get out of my face. It was a full-on push. So, kicks out after Jorginho fouls him, and then shoves Espilicueta in the chest. Nothing. No card. Just a, hey, calm down. How are players not being booked for their reactions? Like, I'm not always a fan of the referees that card the reactions more than they card the actual fouls, but you can't react like that. You can't kick out at another player and not get carded for it. And what makes it even worse is the final situation that I'm going to talk about. James comes on as a sub, beats Nunez, and he's basically through to the box. He's got one midfielder that I'm sure he could easily touch it past because the guy is not really ready to step in, and James is on a full-on sprint at this point as he's gotten past Nunez. And Nunez just hacks him down from behind. I'm thinking, well, this should be your second yellow. He doesn't even get a yellow card for it. So, what is the point of having a referee if you're not going to punish the players for yellow card offenses? He missed 3 on Wolves today, and one of the 2 that he gave us wasn't even a foul. So, that was the one issue that I had out of today's game. And again, didn't change too much. Should Nunez have been on the field after 90 minutes? No. But we still walk out of there 3-0 winners, no big deal. We're not going to see Wolves for a while, so it's not like his probable suspension would have affected us at all. But it's still frustrating whenever the refs tend to lean toward being more lenient for the other team. And it's happened quite a few times this season. The West Ham game is the only instance I can think of where maybe we got a little bit of the rub of the green with the foul on Mendy. That's about the only situation I can think of where we've been beneficial from a referee's call. Too many times we're on the receiving end of a referee's bad decisions. And it sucks, and I hate feeling like that because every single time we go into a game like this, I always have to wonder, is this going to be the game where one challenge that's just a normal challenge ends up being Aspilicueta's second yellow or Jorginho's second yellow because the referee, for whatever reason, either he's sympathizing with Wolves and their plight, all the injuries, they're terrible, they just got rid of the manager, or they just hate us, or what it more likely is, it's just stupid refereeing, and for some reason they tend to be stupid more toward one side than the other. But yeah, anyways, that's the one little rant I wanted to get out. The rest of what I'm going to talk about, I mean, it's all good news. For Graham Potter, it's still early days, still too early to call whether it's exciting or whether it's not exciting. I will say the lineup did have me a little bit worried. I'm glad the performance at least kept it from being frustrating. I mean, there were still a few frustrating moments throughout the first half when we couldn't get the goal. But yeah, the lineup is still a little concerning for me because I still see a lot of the issues I had with Tuchel's personnel decisions. Like Havertz is a false nine again. Instead of turning to Broya as your backup striker, instead of giving Aubameyang another run out, he's like, let's try Havertz as a false nine. And again, didn't really work. Yes, he scored, didn't really work as a false nine. He never really has, except for the first game that Tuchel tried it. And then from then on, we went on to almost never have a good game whenever Havertz was up there. So you've got that. Also, you've got Jorginho, and again, which I know you're probably giving Kovacic a rest. Conte is still not fully fit. I get it. I get why Jorginho is in, but at the same time, I don't like having to rely on him because he's not a reliant person. He's not somebody that I'm sitting there going, I want him in my midfield because he's gonna help the team. Most of the time, I'm worried he's gonna give the game away. So there are those concerns. The subs I thought were okay. Bringing on Kovacic, I thought it should have been for Jorginho just because Jorginho's on a yellow card. Don't want to risk him getting sent off. Although I wouldn't have minded it too much because, again, not a big fan of him. But, Kovacic coming on does bring a little bit more freshness in the midfield. He's similar to Loftus-Cheek when he's on the ball, but when he's off the ball, that's where he's a bit different. He's typically a little bit more of a get stuck in type of player, whereas Loftus-Cheek is a bit more of a I'm going to run with you and kind of just nudge you off the ball. But just a little bit more freshness in the midfield is not a bad thing. Then the next subs, I think, were Broya on for, I think it was Mount. Yeah, Broya on for Mount, and James came on for Pulisic, who was kind of, in a way, he was kind of a wing back today, the left wing back, but really he was much more of a left wing. Whenever we lost possession, Spilicueta would drop in, turned into a back four with Cucurella on the left. But when James came on for Pulisic, that turned it into much more of a normal 3-5-2 in a way, or a 3-4-3. James sliding over to the right, Cucurella on the left, and then Dave drops back in as the right center back. And those subs are fine. Get to see Broya for a decent amount of time, not a whole lot, but hopefully Potter's seeing enough of him to make a decision on when to give him a start, because I think he does deserve one. So I'm glad at least that he's turning to him off the bench, but I still just wish he would give him a little bit more time, give him a start, just to see what he can do from the outset. Really give him a chance to play with a team that's, starting and not a team that is fading because it's in the second half. And then the final subs were just kind of, you got Ziyech coming on, a little bit more freshness up front, and Chukwuemeka, I think is his name. So debut for him, and he's one that I've been kind of interested to see what type of player he is, because I didn't really see him much last season when he was at Villa. But the fact that, he's so young, was getting a decent amount of starts for Villa, I'm excited to see what he can bring. Seems a little bit different than what we have right now, but I don't really know how he's going to fit into the system going forward. I don't know if he's going to be a bit more of an attacking midfielder or if he's going to be dropped in a bit, maybe box to box. Today, he definitely seemed much more of an attacking option than kind of a box-to-box defensive option. So, but all in all, from Potter, the formation, the tactics today did feel better than they have been. They did feel a little bit more aggressive. We put a lot more pressure on Wolves. We didn't let them have a whole lot of joy playing out of the back. The movement up front was better today as well, even from Havertz, who have not really seen a lot of great striker-type movement from him. Today, there was a little bit more intelligence in his runs. There was a little bit more, I'm drawing a defender. He did a lot better at finding the open spaces, and the goal kind of comes from that. He did a good job peeling off of the back defender and nice little header over the keeper. So there was a lot more movement, and I think what really sums it up is the fact that you look at all the goals. First one, Mount assisted to Havertz, Mount assisted to Pulisic, and then Kovacic assisted to Broja. None of those involved defenders. None of those involved. I mean, Pulisic is kind of a wingback today, but not really. But that's, in my opinion, the big thing is you look at the Milan game, you have Silva assisting Fofana, James assisting Aubameyang, and then Sterling assisting James. James and Silva and Fofana, all defenders, all involved in the goals. Today, we didn't have that. All of them were created from attacking players, one from a midfield player. In my opinion, that's better. That's more what I want to see. I don't want to see us constantly relying on either, the corners, our defenders are scoring off of that, or constantly relying on James to get the job done, because he's not always going to be available. As good as he is, I get when he does score, when he does assist, it's because he's that good. He is that good on the ball. He is that good when he gets in the final third. So yes, a lot of our goals probably will come through him. However, we need to be scoring from other areas as well. We need to be having other players getting involved in the goals outside of James or defenders. So today, the fact that none of the players that were involved were defenders or even, wing back, fullback, in my opinion, that's a lot better. That's a lot more what I want to see. I want to see our attacking players getting the ball in the final third. Nice little movement, little interchanging runs. The ball from Mount on the first one was brilliant. The little pass, little 1-2 between Mount and Pulisic for the second one was great. And then great ball in behind from Kovacic and nice, calm, cool finish from Broja for the third. All of them were fantastic goals. And I hope this is a sign that we are starting to feel a little bit more free-flowing attacking, because that's what I want to see. I want to see us be able to break down teams like we did a couple times today. So if this is what Potter's getting us towards, this is a good sign. Now, again, still early. Wolves are not a great team, so being able to play this easily against them may be more of a sign of how bad they are than how good we are, but at least it's a step in the right direction from what I saw as far as the tactics are concerned today. Anyways, going into individuals, Kepa, not really tested today. He had, trying to think if there was another save outside of the free kick. I don't think there was. There were a couple nervy moments here and there. The free kick, it was a nice save, but I think, honestly, it's more on, I think it was Matinho that took the shot. It's more on Matinho for not knowing, don't put it at Kepa. Like, if you put it on the other side of the goal, he's not going to get there. You don't have to put that much power on it. You just, nice little chip toward the other side of the goal. It's probably not going to get there because he doesn't move his feet well. So a lot of people are like, oh, what a great save on the free kick. Honestly, it's the type of free kick that he should be saving because he doesn't have to move his feet. All he has to do is just get down, make the save. Outside of that, he is looking a little bit more confident. The one where he came out of his box was a little nervy, but he is looking more confident. He's looking more like a keeper that can somewhat make in the Premier League. I worry about the teams that we face that love to hit shots from outside the box that are not going to be right at him. Is he going to be able to move his feet? Because I've still not really seen him tested in that way. The closest that we saw was the goal that was scored against Palace, where he was kind of just rooted to his line as the ball comes into a 6-yard box. That's really the only example I've seen of he maybe could have moved his feet to get there, but at the same time, it's also bad defending from Fofana. So we've not really seen a shot that required him to get across the goal or required him to take a couple steps and then make the dive. It's always been shots that he could easily, get a hand down or get across, basically within one step or not even a step and just fall onto it. And he's not a bad shot stopper when it's close to him. Like, we've seen him make some great saves, a couple of one-on-one saves as well, where he's good at his reactions. He's good at the ball's right here and his hands are down. He's good at getting the hand up and making the save. It's just, I still worry about the feet movement because I'm not seeing him tested there, and the little bit that I have seen him tested, he doesn't look like he's improved that at all. So that's my little Kepa rant. Again, it's kind of hard to talk about the back line because, where do you start? But going with the idea that it's a back four. So Spilicueta on the right side, I'll admit, I was a little worried when I saw him in the lineup, and I even saw a bunch of people like, "Why are we not playing James? How could you not play James?" Blah blah blah, all this stuff. I don't think I'm ever gonna doubt him again, because holy crap, like he was playing more of a wing back than he was a fullback. Because again, whenever we got the ball, it turned more into a back three with Cucurella dropping in, and then once we lost it, that's when Dave would drop back. Cucurella slides more out left, and it turns into a back four. But that still requires Spilicueta to get up and back and up and back a lot, and he did it. And he was probably our most influential player in the first half. Like, how many times he got on the ball, how many times he put in these great crosses, which is not something that I expect him to do. His crosses is typically not the best. They're okay. Sometimes they're right at the first defender, but I don't expect him to put in solid crosses every time. And most of his crosses very good today. It's more the finishing from the front three wasn't fantastic in the first half, but he had a couple, like one great cross to Pulisic for a header over the bar, a couple nice cutbacks after driving down the line that probably should have been turned in. One I think by Mount and one by Havertz. So a lot of energy from him, and it's good to know that he can still turn in that type of performance. Now, can he do it every single game? If we're playing midweek and then in the weekend, probably not. I doubt he could keep that up all the time. And even Silva, he put in a great performance against Milan, but we don't see him today. Probably down to the fact that he is a bit older and he can't do that every single game if they're only a few days apart. But it's good to know that Spilicueta still has that type of performance in him. So if James does get hurt, or if maybe James is not 100%, we do have another option that we can turn to, who may not be as good as James, but at least will give us enough energy down that right side to provide an option and be influential on the game. Into the middle, Chalobah makes his first. Is it his first start of the season? It may not be his first start. His first start in a little while, though, and again, just shows what a capable player he is. And I just think it's so disappointing that he doesn't get more time. Maybe these past two performances against Milan and then today, maybe this will start to show Potter, hey, this is what he's capable of. And I don't know if it's because he's not really doing this in training is why he's not seeing as much game time, but he's such a capable defender. He's very good at reading situations. His touch still lets him down sometimes, but for the most part, he is a very solid player. He is very good at reading the game, making good challenges. He's fast and he's strong too, so he's not going to get beat by anybody. I just don't know why we don't see more of him. Like, especially under Tuchel, I never understood why he was losing out his spot to players like Christensen or Sarr. How is he not playing over either of them when every time he plays, he looks good. He looks like a Premier League quality defender. So yeah, hoping he can start to get more game time. Hoping he can continue to show Potter what he's capable of, because I like what I'm seeing. And then Koulibaly is kind of the other defender, their center defender. Looked okay today. Still not super convinced by his performances. Still feel like there are moments where maybe a little too, I don't know if nonchalant is the right word, but it feels like there are times when he's not quite ready for the high press. He's not ready for somebody to come at him quickly, and it feels like he's kind of rushing his touch, or he looks a little nervous with his touch. But he's looking like he's getting slightly better every game that I see him, so hopefully that continues on. And Cucurella on the left side wasn't really getting forward as much as we expect him to, because he was supposed to stay back as a third defender. But when he did start to get forward a little bit in the second half, like what I saw from him, he's a good defender, and he's also good getting forward as well. So I like having him as an option. He and Chilwell, I think, are both kind of similar right now. Neither of them are world beaters. Neither of them are truly fantastic players, but they're both solid. They're both good. Chilwell, when he gets back to his full fitness and he's fully up to pace that we've seen him play before, I think he can be close to world class. Cucurella, I don't know if he's ever going to be world class player, but I think he's good enough to say he's effective. He's the type of player that's not going to make the headlines. He's not going to wow anybody, but he's going to be effective. He's going to be somebody that you rely on, because he's going to turn in a good performance. Kind of like in Spilicueta. You never really look at Spilicueta and say he is one of the greatest players of all time, But you look at his performances, over his career at Chelsea. You look at how solid he's been. He is a great defender. He's a defender you can rely on, and I feel like that's what Kukurea is showing so far. He's not a truly fantastic player, but he's gonna work hard. He's gonna be reliable. He's gonna be solid. He's not gonna give away anything cheap. Um, and I think that's a good type of player to have. The only complaint I think I had for him was in the second half. It felt like where in the first half we were a lot more vigilant as far as like staying on top of all of the Wolves attacking players. It felt like they did drop off a little bit more, and I don't know if that was from Potter or if that was just a player mental lapse thing, but he was typically keeping Traore under control in the first half because he was always there whenever Traore would try to win the ball. Second half, he dropped off, and Traore is one of those players you don't let him have space because if he can get up to speed, that's where he can hurt you. That's where he can be dangerous. So I felt like that was a little bit of a mistake not to be on him more. But again, I don't know if that's his fault or if that was Potter giving him those instructions of like, hey, let's sit off a little bit. They're going to come at us fast. Let's drop deeper. I just don't think that's a good, if that is what happened, I don't think that's a good mindset to have because with teams like Wolves, if you sit deeper, they're going to come at you even harder and with speed. Which makes it more difficult to defend. But anyways, moving on to the midfield, Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek. Jorginho today was actually good. That's not very often that I say that. Most of the time, his best games are ones where I'm just like, well, he wasn't bad today. But no, today he looked a lot more progressive. He looked to try to hit the balls forward instead of just knocking it back. Defensively, still very slow, but he was reading the game a bit better today and actually stepping in and winning some passes and cutting them out instead of waiting until some player gets the ball and then trying to dive in and getting turned easily, which that still happened a couple times. But yeah, I feel like today though he looked a lot more energetic and he looked a lot more aggressive with his passing and with his mindset. It wasn't so much I'm just here to take touches and slow down the game and knock it around, which I'm just not a fan of. It felt much more like I'm trying to control it by keeping the momentum going. It's not we're going to try to slow down the other team's momentum, which I feel like is what a lot of Tuchel's tactics were. We're just slow it down, keep the other team's momentum from building. I prefer when we build our own momentum. That's typically how you keep the other team's momentum from growing, is you build your own momentum and you go and score goals and then they drop off because they get frustrated. And I thought Jorginho today did that a lot better than I have seen in the past. Still not one of my top choices in midfield for sure, but if he can turn in more performances like this one, I might say he's actually useful in the midfield. It's still a long way off from that, but just saying. Loftus-Cheek, though, looking a lot more like the player I want him to be, looking a lot more like the player that I think a lot of people were expecting him to be. Very good at just winning the ball, keeping possession, knocking it around. He gets up and back really well, too. He's really showing he's physically capable of being a good box-to-box midfielder, both in speed and in strength and in endurance. So, yeah, I like what I'm seeing from him, and I hope he can continue on this run because he's looking really good right now. And then into the more kind of front 3/4 at times. First of all, talk about Pulisic on the left side. I really feel like putting him out on the wing lets him be the type of player that I think he prefers. That driving down from the wing and then either cutting inside or basically driving down to the end line and cutting in. Whatever the case, it feels like when he has the room out there to run, that's when he looks his best. I feel like putting him in a system where we've got wingbacks coming in from the wing, so he has to play more central. I feel like that's where he starts to get hindered a lot because he doesn't have time and space to run at players, and I feel like that hinders him. That hinders his game. So today was much more the type of player that I think Pulisic is, and it showed off what he's capable of if you give him the time and space to run at players. And the goal was very well taken too. So hopefully a good confidence booster for him because obviously when you're a player who's not playing with confidence, those shots most of the time end up being more what we saw at the beginning of the game, from Mount, from Havertz, and from Pulisic. So hopefully that's a good confidence builder so we can see more finishes like the one that he had. Into Mount, Obviously, his finishing still needs improvement, but good for him to get 2 assists today because he honestly earned it. With all the performance he put in, with the hard work, all of the stuff he did off the ball, I wanted to see him get some reward because he had so many chances that he didn't take. So the fact that he got an assist at the end of the first half and then assisted Pulisic's goal as well, I feel like it's a good reward for him, and it's something that hopefully will build his confidence so he can get better in front of goal because he had several chances that he wasted today. And honestly, he's had several chances in the past couple games that he's wasted. But on to Gallagher. Gallagher obviously was not really involved in any of the goals today, but his first half performance was very solid. Second half, he did drop off a little bit, so I don't know if that's something to be expected because he's not really been playing a whole lot, so maybe his stamina isn't the best. But his first half performance is really what I want to see from him. You know, the energy, the pressure on the defense, his ability to run at players and keep the ball moving quickly. It was very, very good, and it shows the type of player that he is, that he can be so effective when he's further forward, and just the amount of pressure it puts on a back line to have a player like Gallagher back there who's you don't really have time to take a touch because he could be right behind you, and then whenever he's on the ball you can't get too close to him because he's either going to lay it off and spin you, or he's going to, if you drop off of him too much, he can turn and maybe have a shot. So he's a very difficult player to kind of get figured out of whether you step quick, do you try to cut him off, is he going to use his body to block you and spin you? It's just hard to figure out what to do against him. So I love having a player with a little bit of versatility up there who is able to challenge the defenders in different ways, compared to most of our other attackers that are, I hate to say it, kind of one note. Mount, typically, as long as you cut off his passing lanes and stay pretty close to him, he's not going to really be able to dribble you. Pulisic, as long as you stay close to him and don't let him have space, he's not going to be able to do much with it. Havertz, if you just stay on him and after his first touch, if you just are there, basically you're quicker than him, so you're going to be able to step in and win it. We don't have a whole lot of players that can change it up and do different things, and I feel like Gallagher is showing he can be capable of doing a bunch of different things up in the attack. But on Havertz, yeah, another game where I feel like he wasn't really effective. He didn't really help us. Got the goal, which is good for him, and maybe that'll help him grow a little bit. It'll help boost him. But yeah, just not much from him throughout today. And again, I just don't see him as a player that can play in that 9 position. I don't think he makes the right runs for it. I don't think he knows where to be in the box whenever we're trying to find him. It doesn't feel like he knows what to do when he's there. And I saw it whenever Tuchel tried him there time and time again, and today I saw it again. And I'm worried that Potter, because he got the goal, that's all Potter will take from it and be like, see, he can play there. But in reality, I just don't think he helps us as a team when he's in there. So that's just my own personal opinion. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, but yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But anyways, on to the subs. Kovacic coming on as the first one, obviously got the assist for Broja's goal. But looks, again, pretty solid overall. He's definitely come leaps and bounds since 2 games ago against Palace, where he was really, really bad. But it's just good to have Kovacic back, and hopefully he can get up to his full fitness and really be effective every single game that we need him, because he's the type of player that when he's in the midfield, he can help us both on the attack and in defense. And he can turn defense into attack really quickly too. So love having him in there when he's playing like he did today. Broja and James coming on next. Broja with the goal, very well taken, and it's something that I'm glad he got, because I feel like that's the one thing he's been lacking. Because he's been working hard, he's been putting a lot of pressure on defenses. Every time he comes off the bench, you see him. He's there. He's constantly being an option. But I think the fact that he's not scored has been the one thing that's kept him from starting. So maybe now that he got the goal, maybe Potter will start to say, hey, maybe we should look at this kid and see what he can do. I hope that's the case, but we'll see maybe in the next couple games if he gets a start. I know we have Milan in the midweek, but I don't really know who we have coming up in the league. But maybe if we have a team like Nottingham Forest or any of those teams that are kind of down near the bottom and aren't having great seasons, maybe we'll see Broja from there. Or maybe in the Carabao Cup. I know pretty sure we've got Man City though, so that's not going to be just a throwaway game. But yeah, good from him, and very well taken goal. James came on and just did what James does. Went out to the right, took on some defenders, looked strong defensively, very solid. He's a good player, and even though I still have my issues with him and his work rate at times, he's still showing he has enough quality to make up for those times when he does sort of just hang out on the right side and wait for the game to come to him. And then the final two subs came on a bit later. Chukwuemeka and who was the other one that came on? Ziyech. Neither of them really came on with that much time to do anything. It was more just kind of like a little blip appearance. Ziyech, I don't really remember anything from him, to be honest, and I hate to say that because I would like to see more from Ziyech. I feel like he is a quality player that we've seen show his quality over the couple of years he's been here. But yeah, he does feel like he's sort of fading out of the team. It does feel like he's not really finding a good fit in this system. And especially now you've got Sterling here, you've got Gallagher coming in, Pulisic is starting to find his form, Mount can play out in the wings. It does sort of feel like Ziyech is slowly kind of fading out of the club. And I wish it wouldn't happen to him, but at the same time, I kind of understand if he does end up leaving either in January or next summer. Unless he finds a revival, unless Potter finds the great position for him to play. But right now, I'm not really seeing much in the starting 11 or even subs off the bench. I'm not really seeing much of a use for him. If we needed a winger to come on today to help save the game, it would have been Sterling. But since we were already 2-0 up, I think Potter decided, hey, let's see, give him a chance to play and see what he can do. And then the other sub, Chukwuemeka, first appearance for him, and he looked okay. Didn't really see a whole lot to get super excited about, but he looked solid enough. He worked hard, worked to win the ball back a couple times as well. In the final third, he had a couple of good interplay in between, I think, him and Broya and him and who else was up there? I think Kukurea made some runs alongside him as well. So I hope to see a little bit more of him in the coming weeks. Whether he is coming off the bench maybe a bit later because we are ahead, or if he does get a chance to step in and try to help us out. I would like to see what type of player he is. Is he a dribbler? Is he quick 1-2 type of player? Can he do a few different things? Is he a beast up there? I don't know. It's hard to tell from the little appearance he got today. But I liked his work rate, and I liked the little bit that I did see from him. It did give me a little bit of excitement to see who is this new player and what can he do. But all in all, like I said, great performance. Had an issue with the referee, but again, nothing game-changing. But yeah, that's about it. On to Milan in the midweek. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace out.